The two preliminary finalists from last year, head-to-head again. And we're underway here at the SCG. De Boer comes hard. Crowley, Mundy, got a little high on Mundy. And Mundy's grabbed himself a free. High on Mundy after he was subbed out in the second quarter last week with a hit to the head, but good to see he's come up okay.
They had plenty of time to get the midfield back to block this up, force the long kick.
Big long up and under. Taberner turned his back, tried to mark the ball, turning his back on his opponent, couldn't bring it down. Derricks, massive players around this, and Parker hacks it clear to the space. Dawson and Pyke, though. Pyke not the man you want to kick to necessarily in a one-on-one in space, but he does well here. Holds it up, waits for the cavalry. Mundy sidesteps through some traffic, floats one. Ballantyne under it and almost collected it. Smith just knocked it from him. Rampy is about to get a possession left behind.
Yeah, taken a little bit high at the other end of the ground. This is going to be really interesting and entertaining, hopefully. Buddy Franklin with the whole forward 50 to himself. And they're going to turn this into a major athletic event. But not with that kicks or handballs.
He thought that Malcheski was free to run, but it didn't work. Mzungu could have gone for goal, goes to the all-time great for Fremantle, Matthew Pavlich, to line up and have a crack at the first goal of the afternoon.
Well, that gives a little insight, I think, Lynchy, as to where they are at as a group. The Sydney Swans second-guessing each other. They're going to work. They're going to see a response, but you still have to be able to execute.
And we spoke about their quality through the midfield, but one of the things we've noticed over the last few years is their run-off halfback's been so good and so positive. That was just, as you said, there wasn't a lot of confidence and continuity between the teammates.
Picked that goal 7 this year from directly out. Fist, yeah, he loves it. Fremantle first blood.
Starting man-on-man in the forward line for the Sydney Swans, which has been a little bit different to what they've done over the last couple of weeks. In fact, it's 7v7 there at the present time.
And once this ball's bounced, you would expect a few of them will shoot away and leave the space for Franklin one-on-one if they can get it in there. But Mundy gets the clearance, bounces it to half-forward, straight through a few hands. Grundy, Richards, Smith, Kennedy coming off a 33 possession game last week in the loss to North Melbourne. He hasn't been letting them down. To Jack in the middle, and now they go long. It's Pyke instead in the one-on-one, and it works against Dawson.
Well, Buddy Franklin is working really hard. You wouldn't have seen him contribute there, but there he comes on the bottom of the screen now. But he was up on the half-back flank. He's dragging McFarlane away, and they're clearly pushing Pyke forward as a tall marking option.
Well, McFarlane was virtually best on ground last week. Don't tell me Lance Franklin's going to be the highest paid dummy we've ever seen in footy. Just take his man out. Pyke from 50. And he misses to the near side.
It's an important role that Pyke plays as well. You're saying as that second tall forward, which he did extremely well for the most part of last year. Obviously had the great support from Mundy as the first ruck option. They just need to get some support in the middle of the ground to allow Pyke to spend mainly a lot of his time forward.
Spur to Johnson. Swans have the numbers on the outer side. It might work though for Fremantle. It rolls out of play. They get a ball in.
Throw it in.
So Richards is deepest. He's going with Pavlich, the captain of the Fremantle Dockers.
You saw the hand over there beautifully on screen. McFarlane handed over to allow Johnson to go up on Franklin when he was high. Johnson will drop out of this contest to be the loose man in defence.
McGlynn wants to keep this alive. Franklin was running for him inside. Couldn't get it to him.
And Grundy on Matt Taberner, who was pretty impressive last week, Lynchy, in his game for the Fremantle Dockers. He's got good hands. He was robbed of a couple, I thought, with a couple of hands being chopped, but looks like a player of the future.
An exciting player up against a player that's been in really good touch over recent seasons. Just wasn't real flash last week.
Pyke with a couple to beat here. Dawson flips it to the boundary deliberately, and Sutcliffe was there to make it look perfect. To Neil. To the wing, Pavlich comes down, Malcheski drops in front of the Pav.
So Buddy across half back now. He's just looking to get away from his opponent as a starting point.
Slow entry though. You can see Mike Pyke waving to get that ball in quickly. And that's a good turnaround.
Yep, Daniel Pearce to De Boer to Pavlich, and he bounces. He's about to kick it where he'd like to be, somewhere at half forward. Couldn't find a kick, so went with the handball. Rampy cuts it off, flicks it wide. Good contest at the moment. Derek's a little fumble. They jump into him. Bird. Mazungu, but Teddy Richards in the spot waiting for it, making reload.
And that's exactly why Pav didn't kick first time 2 minutes ago, was because Richards and also Franklin were there.
Jetta's first chance to get and go. Plenty of space ahead. Who does he want as the target? Didn't want to kick, and he bounces it to McGlynn. And he was good enough. He parted the seas, got through. Sandilands, who's been in good form. Hot contest at the moment. Clancy Pearce gets it up. And Lance Franklin makes a tackle. The ball up on the wing.
Once again, a couple of poor handballs resulted in a turnover. Both players, Lewis and McGlynn, could have gone long to Pyke, who once again was pushing forward. A golden hair tapped that one.
Hill on the run, had to get it away. Taberner again, got in the hole. Gee, that's high on Jack. Kieran Jack.
It's good work from Taberner, actually. He straight lined that ball and went straight at it.
2 goals last week for Taberner, as Alistair Lynch and Jared told you, was impressive and might have a spot for a while on that side.
Well, that's twice now from Mike Pyke. He was lucky he got away with one in the forward pocket earlier. He's got to do better than that.
Clancy Pearce, just his second game of the year. Sandlin's the target, half forward, slap of the arms, free kick.
No, Tom Derrick's had the opportunity there to get in front and take the ball in his own hands, but a little bit intimidated by the size of his opponent.
Good one-on-one that, Pavlich and Richards. Richards just got a fist in, as he so often does.
It was an enormous effort from Teddy Richards up against one of the premier forwards in the competition. One-on-one contest deep. Didn't give away the free kick, but still got that left arm in to spoil. Fantastic defensive work.
Cunningham rolls it away. Mike Pyke couldn't quite run back onto it. Didn't bounce kindly. And McGlynn's gone down behind play.
Not surprised, Wayne. He's been holding and scragging and should be giving away free kicks against Nat Fyfe, but he hasn't been pinged yet. He's got inside his head. Just needs to be a little bit more careful so close to goal if he's going to give away a free kick.
So that was a Nat Fyfe retaliation?
No doubt.
And he did beat Brent Harvey last week. McGlynn did a great job on him. Franklin's first chance, he doesn't go at it. He waits back and leaves the Pyke one-on-one. It eludes them both. Ball in.
So just a bit of little bit of holding and a little bit of a push. Not a lot in that, to be honest.
Clark does some ruck work. Hanbury, he's having a lean time of it. McGlynn bumped out of it. Hill, slick hands. Dawson, not only a kicker from defence, and blazes away. Richards, good juggler.
Once again, Mike Pyke lucky not to get pinged for hands in the back. He's just got to have a bit of a look at that's crept into his game.
And so do the umpires.
Malcheski, long over Franklin's head.
Although that would be a deliberate, long deliberate. Won't be paid though. Good positioning kick.
And we all know there's been a softening in the one-on-one marking contest, but the hands in the back is a non-negotiable. It's a clear-cut rule. Once you place the hands in the back in a marking contest or a push in that ruck contest, it is a free kick.
Clark, front spot. Pyke right with him, knocks it down. Fyfe, hammered just as he collects it. Sydney Swans fans want ball. They don't get that. Parker, Hanbury, Main. Thrown after, and good to see him back.
Well, the Dockers got one extra up at this clearance. Swans have got a floater just sweeping across the half-back in Nick Smith.
No, missing that week with the ankle problem. Back into play. Fyfe also back into the lineup after suspension. Got it up to Mundy. Sandlands one-on-one. Good grab.
Great grab. Oh, not a great handball.
Well, Hill shouldn't have caught for it, really. Rampy back to Sandlands, who mops up that little mess to Pavlich. Slick hands, Pearce, Valentine. No one's forward for a long kick. Mundy, and he doesn't want to kick long. Obviously, why? Main, not free kick.
Still outnumbered 50 metres from the ball. Got to go lateral.
Oh, Duffield
And he could explode, lob this right in the goal square.
Just need Sandilands to still get back to the top of the goal square.
We've got Pavlich in the pocket, so you can expect he will lead towards the goal square.
Sutcliffe pokes that.
Look at this for an opportunity.
So Rampy cuts it off. They're streaming in space. Good collect in the end by Jack. Gave it up. Bird doesn't know where to go. Pumps it long. Goal square. Race on. Bouncing ball. Sutcliffe got there. Dragged down McGlynn. Fantastic contest. No prior opportunity. Won't be ball. Can't be ball. Ball up.
Just got the bad bounce. Needed the end over end bounce, but just hit the green and spun backwards. Not good for the Sydney Swans. Great for Fremantle defenders.
Blood rule, Sydney.
Blood rule, as you can hear.
Malcheski coming off the ground. How the rotation's going, Baz? I see it's pretty even at 10 apiece.
Yeah, it's pretty even down here, Jared, but you can generally see in the first 5 minutes of games generally what sides are trying to do. They've just got the message 15 minutes ago from the coach. You see Fremantle want to go in long and deep to one-on-one into Pavlich, and Sandilands has been anchored down there, so they think they've got an advantage one-on-one.
And the ball up, and a good spot for a ball up for Sydney here. Mundy to Mzungu, out of trouble, might be temporary. Taken to the boundary cleverly by Taberner. That was his out.
I'm interested to see just how John Longmire handles his captain, Kieran Jack. He's got a few possessions already today, but he's being tagged by Crowley. And Kieran Jack cut his teeth as a tagger, so he's clearly, if he wants to break that, he's in a good position to be able to put him onto a hill or put him onto a 5-4 Mundy.
Fife got that kick. Smith read it well. Valentine corrals him, holds him up.
Yeah, I think he's spot on, Jared, because they need Kieran Jack. You know he's hard at the ball, but his outside work as well, his finishing work to hit targets inside 50 is critical. He just hasn't had that sort of space over the last few weeks.
Rampy, Cunningham, Shaw. Here they go with the run again. Laidler, who kicked a couple of goals running off half-back last week, short to Jetta.
Well, they've pushed Jack now to full forward. I'd act really quickly if I was in his position. Just simply so you gain control of the matchups. At the moment, Ross has got the matchup he wants.
Pearce, short, Grundy read that. It was to Pavlich's direction, but Grundy made it third man in. Richards slung, got a handball. Smith and Rampy. And Rampy gets the handball to Shaw. Thought about Laidler, ignores him, goes wider, and that's out on the full. McGlynn couldn't get there in time to touch it out.
And Jared, that's a huge win for Freo to have Kieran Jack lined up at full forward. I'm sure the Fremantle Dockers coaching staff will be fairly happy with that situation. Gets him away from the ball. Obviously, he still can do some damage at full forward, but if Sydney are to win, they need Kieran Jack on the ball and playing well.
Well, Pav's kicked a goal, but his man Ted Richards has been superb so far for the Swans.
Brandon Jack, good pluck.
Appeals, rejected.
Kennedy turns into trouble in the form of Clancy Pearce. Good hands. Brandon Jack, here's the run. Bird put him under pressure, though. Had a couple waiting for the quick hands. Dawson, Daniel Pearce, one-on-one. Pavlich, Grundy. Grundy got a hand in, jumped on him. Ted Richards again, superb. Bounces away. Lewis Roberts Thompson leads long. That's ignored. Goes to Shaw, to Jetta.
They're away.
Longer than LRT. Goes to Cunningham on the run. Gathers. Thought about taking on Johnson. Franklin to the pocket. And that'll help McFarlane.
Just struggling with the skills at the present time. Turnovers, handball into poor options, bad kicking like that at the present time. Work rate, I'm sure John Longmire would be thrilled with. And I think he'd just be happy at three-quarter time to say, righto, we've got the work rate where we need it to be for the rest of the game. Let's just tidy up a few execution errors.
Now Chesky, Hill cuts it off to Fife. Valentine's got a couple to beat. Rampy, one of them. Got a fist away. Rampy back in, kept his feet, shrugged a couple. Hands it back to Laidler, all the way back to Shaw.
Yeah, great vision.
So McVeigh held up.
These are the critical possessions here. This short pass probably, and then the inside 50.
Drives it long, hoping for Parker. Spur got a fist in. Hill to the bore. Clark wrapped up. Grundy, good tackle. He dumped him into the deck. Crowd enjoyed that. Brandon Jack. Daniel Pearce, nice turn. Spur bangs it wide. Now they've got a 2-on-1 here, Fremantle. Just off the bench is Neal. Main's seen him, and he can run. Not a lot to go to again. So he holds it up.
That's it, because they're still playing that extra man defence. So the Swans have a flutter across halfback as well.
Taberner. Tucked away.
Well, the Swans defence holding up pretty well. At the moment, it seems to me that Buddy Franklin's getting sucked too far up the ground. Lynchy, the way they're getting at the Swans, they're not flying through the middle of the ground. And Buddy then is almost being, he needs about a 100-metre distance, like a 30-metre 30-metre run up and a 60-metre kick, etc., to just get some space between him and his man.
5. Taberner got hands on it. Laidler just knocked an arm. Rampy tucked up against the boundary, wanted to keep it alive. Hanbury puts it up long. Duffield in the hole.
You're right. The way they're going inside 50, they tend to kick the ball too long at the moment. And Swans at their very best go that 35-metre pass just inside 50 at the long shots.
Clancy Pearce. Mundy. Sutcliffe. Mzungu almost worked to perfection. Off hands, Taberner can't break away with it. Malcheski strong, attacked it hard, took the ball and the body at once. Derricks went backwards for some strange reason. Smith, Grundy, he slips. Mzungu back in. Grundy in trouble, knocks it out. Laidler, Neal about to pounce, just caught Smith a little high. Play on to advantage. Short, long, one-on-one. Brandon Jack, Lee Spur knocked it down. Sutcliffe picked up by Kennedy, caught, dumped. Duffield back inboard. Hill, McFarlane. Low scoring contest, but a high quality contest right now. Enjoyable for everyone to watch. Mzungu picks it up, bangs it long inside 50. It's wide, too wide for Pav, and it rolls out of play. We'll get a ball in. Barry Hall.
Yeah, you spoke about Buddy Franklin pushing too far up the ground. Matthew Pavlich is also doing the same. They just haven't adjusted to the SCG and the size of it at this stage. They're obviously used to playing on big grounds, but Buddy's going to have to get used to playing on a small ground. You need to anchor yourself back inside 50, because from centre wing you can clearly get it inside 50 pretty deep.
Pavlich. Mundy outside of the boot. This will bounce. And Grundy knew it was going to bounce toward the goal.
Just to reinforce what Baz is talking about, how especially Buddy's getting way out the field, you've got to remember the Sydney Swans have only trained on this ground for 1 week. They haven't been near the SCG. It's been on the outer ovals for a long time because of the baseball and cricket. So Buddy Franklin hasn't actually been on this park too much at all.
It is strange. They are not back here at the SCG either for over a month. So they play here today and then don't see it for another 5 weeks. Pearce pounces on it on the wing. Just pushed on the kick. Taberner. Crowd into this game though. Good crowd in here at the SCG. Jetta was out of play.
On a positive note, Dwayne, for the Swans, I reckon you could put 7 or 8 really poor skill executions on a grab or on a 30-second piece, and John Longmire would say we're making these mistakes and yet we're still just 6 points behind. They could well have been 3 or 4 goals behind at the moment.
Hold the jumper, Aaron Sandilands.
Sandilands free. Talked about his form, having arguably one of the best seasons of his career, certainly injury-free, which is fantastic to see.
Move it on.
Squeezes the kick to Pavlich. Good hands. Maybe just beyond his range, though.
He got the good matchup. Rampy had the drop off. There was a handover from Ted Richards. So Pav would be really happy with that matchup. So he'll be continually trying to get that changeover.
He looks like he's going to have a crack at it, but those darting eyes tell you maybe he'll just hit the top of the square. Very deliberate approach. From 56, gets plenty on it. Pyke.
Well, it was good work by Pyke in the finish. I know it's basics and the simple things in footy, but he could have been sucked up onto his man. He elected to stay back, and luckily he did.
And that's where there's a really strong train of thought in the coaching ranks about that kick actually going 15 metres short rather than to the goal line, where it is an easy spoil over. And so basically hand over possession. Obviously Pav was quite confident he'd get the journey.
Richards wide. Lewis Roberts-Thompson, who hasn't seen it yet, won't see it here. Pavlich too strong and definitely too far out to score this time.
Target this time.
And on the lead, he's got Fife as well. Overshoots them both. Ted Richards read that superbly, as he always seems to do.
He's putting on a clinic, Ted Richards, at the moment.
Sure. And Teddy will get another. Lance Franklin.
Luke McFarlane will be very happy. Buddy can get all his possessions he wants that far from goal.
He's coming off for a spell as well, Franklin.
And Luke Parker, just a little message to Buddy to just have a look inside, mate. I'm here, so there's a quicker way to home, and it is an issue this ground. When you start going around the boundary line from that half-back flank, it's just about as far as full-back.
Yeah, it's a long way from goal.
Mundy, very circular this ground, very round oval, if you know what I mean. At Easter, it's not egg-shaped. Franklin.
Still outnumbered deep again.
And he knows he's too far out to score. But he probably will hit that spot 15 minutes out, 15 metres out from goal, you think.
Go around him.
Trouble. Strange option.
Trouble.
Handed to Clark. Gave to McFarlane. No one home. If it bounces kindly, Ted Richards or Grundy will gobble it up and reload the Swans to Rampy. Goes to Smith instead. Ignores Rampy as well and goes wider to Bird on the overlap. Lewis Roberts-Thompson on the march. Got it. Good build up this. But this kick's the problem. No one to go to.
Mundy's behind the ball.
McVeigh.
Even this one. Unsure whether the long one's the right one. Now they can pull the trigger on a 35-metre pass to the leading forward.
McGlynn goes to the pocket. Way wide. Out of bounds on the full. They've had their chances, Sydney. They're still in it.
And Buddy Franklin has just coasted up there, and he needs to have a look at that. I know he's trying to get off the ground and have a rest, but his man McFarlane was good enough to do the same kilometres as him and get back and make an option. Buddy was still coasting on the 50-metre line when he should have been up there presenting as an opportunity. Then he didn't pick McFarlane up.
McFarlane long towards Pavlich. Richards' fist wins out. McGlynn knocks it back again. Bird. And we'll get a ball in.
And look at Buddy Franklin now. We see 55 metres at the top of the goal square. He's outnumbered. He had to go shorter, so he was discouraged because he was outnumbered. The only probably option was wide into the forward 50.
Any option was probably better than the option he took, though, which was strange. Jetta. Here's an option, an opportunity to go to the pocket to Franklin on the move. McFarlane wearing him like a glove.
Well, it is windy out there. That's the only excuse you can come up with for the Sydney Swans and their poor disposal at the present time. It's quite blustery down on the ground, Barry.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit blowy, but you've seen McFarlane then. He went stride for stride with Buddy Franklin, and we see the wind there. It's blowing quite a bit, but let's hope that dies down a little bit.
Well, the bad news for Sydney is they're kicking with it ever so slightly in this opening term, and they're trailing. Pyke. Mundy. Stays in play. Smith. Wrapped up. Main. Good strong tackle. Laidler.
Well, they got the extra play. This will be good work by the Dockers if they can hold it in, which they can't in the end.
Sure. So it opens up again. Drives it long. Franklin on the move. Can't get there. LRT got a hand on it. Knocked it down to Hill. And the space opens up for Fremantle. Went to the middle. Sutcliffe straight through his legs.
High risk.
Good tackle on Parker in the end. Didn't give away the high. Could well have got one. Could be holding the ball there. That didn't look like a handball either. Main. Fife dragged down. Can't break free with it. Fife again gives to Main. Can't get rid of it. McVeigh. Shaw. Grundy. Fantastic contest for a one-goal game. Richards.
Ted's up to 11. This would be a PB for a quarter.
LRT on the march.
And Lewis is working hard to give him the outlet.
So Jetta to Malcheski over his head. Parker. McVeigh. Malcheski kickable by his standards. There's that breeze. Pushed it long. Got it. First of the afternoon for Sydney.
And that's something we haven't seen a lot of. Yeah, the likes of Malcheski, Shaw, attacking that forward 50 arc and kicking the long bombs. Even, Kennedy and Jack, the midfielders, actually been able to generate a shot at goal. See Bird come off the ground. So he's in some discomfort, chatting with the doctor at the moment.
So a slight momentum shift here. The Swans trying to hunt down the lead for quarter time. Ballantyne, almost his first chance. Got one to the back of the head. Finally hacked clear. Fife to Daniel Pearce. Good one-on-one. Pavlich, Richards. Both had a piece of it. Ballantyne, the crumb. That's his bread and butter. And when he's good, there's none better.
He's an exciting player, and quick response on the back of a clearance and a good contest from Matthew Pavlich. Hayden Ballantyne did the rest.
1 minute from quarter time. Pyke, Clark. Pyke against Clark with the palm down. Kennedy with the clearance. Parker. He can go long now. Gets plenty on it. Lewis Roberts Thompson getting back. Dawson into his back a little, but he did play for it, LRT. Dawson, well, that was a team out of play, deliberate. Well worked. Good spot for a ball in there for Sydney. For an instant reply to the instant reply. Fist from Clark. Johnson. Fife. Good chase on. Rampy and Taberner. Rampy kept his feet, was held. 20 seconds and counting. Shaw. Franklin lurking for him on the big left. You'd think he'd bomb it long. He doesn't. He goes with an accurate pass. The chaos ball. It works. McGlynn. Sidestep. Bends it around. Just enough. There is the instant reply to the instant reply.
Great goal. We saw Reece Shaw just waiting for Buddy Franklin to get involved, and to get his teammate, high-profile teammate, into the game, just gave off the handball, and it was the chaos ball forward. One that hits the deck, and you're forced to play on. Something has to happen out of this, and McGlynn just backed himself with his pace and just dragged the ball around beautifully. And I think they've had enough of the ball to be really encouraged, I think, the Sydney Swans in the first quarter. Although they trail, they've well and truly been in the contest, and just a bit of efficiency for passes inside forward 50, and I think they'd be in front, but a very good contest first up.
Well, it's as you would expect for second versus fourth from last year. Had a different start to the season, these two teams, but right now they are turning a finals-like contest here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Quarter time, good crowd in. Bright sunshine fading through an afternoon here at the SCG, and we're getting some entertainment. John Longmire and Ross Lyon about to address the troops. The Fremantle Dockers lead at quarter time 2-2-14 for the Swans. 2-1-13. Second term underway. Sandilands, nice palm. Fife on the move, pumps it inside 50, just couldn't complete the deal with a mark from Ballantyne or Pavlich.
Well, he's been a star, Rampy. Thank goodness for their half-back line and their full-back line. Lynchy for the Sydney Swans. They've kept him in it so far.
He's really grown since being upgraded last year. Started last year as a rookie, and he sets this one up beautifully. McGlynn, Franklin, this'll work. Lance.
Oh, he shanked it.
Misses. And the crowd all got up as one.
Well, it was going to be a major finish to a great move by the Sydney Swans. Unfortunately, he had a lot of time to think about it. Probably overcooked it just a little bit.
Well, he did, and his opponent, Luke McFarlane, just dropped off the back thinking, oh, no. See a little bit of a smile from Ryan Crowley, but, yeah, that's a great build-up from Sydney off half-back, but got to finish those.
Five caught by the legs. Umpire said that was above the knee, so not a trip. Malcheski wide. McVeigh over his head. And we'll get a ball in. Just got a little bit too excited, perhaps, Lance Franklin.
First goal at the SCG as a Sydney Swan. He was just ready to flush that one straight through about 60 metres, but near broke the post.
He didn't kick one here last week against North Melbourne. Was held goalless by Scott Thompson. So it's still the duck that Lance Franklin has to break. Mundy tried to squeeze a handball through. McGlynn wrapped up. Good tackle, dragged down, and the umpire will be forced to ball it up. In fact, for Lance Franklin, Fremantle is the team that he has most difficulty kicking goals against. He's got the smallest number against Fremantle.
Well, that'd make him consistent with most forwards, I reckon. They're such a powerful defence. They've also dropped a spare back down there, sitting right underneath his feet at the present time.
Yeah, that's right. It makes it really hard. If they do get this clearance, they look to pull the trigger quickly. They're just going to go to where they're outnumbered. Here they go.
Free kick. Jetta plays on to advantage. Franklin puts it to the deck. or kickable almost by his standards. Tried to be unselfish. Kennedy, and it works.
Did work. It was that dart pass to Buddy Franklin again, making something happen. Now Kennedy, we know he's a goal-kicking midfielder, one of the elite midfielders in the competition. Hasn't kicked a goal this year, so I think he is another one of those players. Although his disposals hasn't dropped so far this season, he needs to impact the scoreboard.
Well, it's a great kick. I think we're underselling the kick. It was no doubt something they would have talked about when they gave themselves a little bit of 360 feedback throughout the week. Got to be team first and foremost, and that's exactly what he delivered.
And he gets the crowd into it all of a sudden. For the first time today, the Sydney Swans are in front. Back in the middle.
So it's big Pav. He's pushed himself up for this ruck contest.
Yeah, no messing around now. He knew that he had to get back in. He's going to have to go again here. Umpire with a poor bounce, so they'll just toss it in the air. The umpires, Jeff Dalglish, Andrew Mitchell, Jacob Mollison today. And umpire Mollison tosses it up.
Hasn't done a lot of midfield work this year, Pav, but after that one for one.
And lace out as well around the body.
So Taberner gets his first chance here.
He could kick this.
Doesn't like his chances, puts it to that spot, 15 metres out. Ballantyne, Crowley, who's kicked a few goals this year despite doing some great tagging jobs. Shaw hacks it clear. Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Well, this will work superbly. Bird runs onto it. Franklin's on the run. Gets there in front of McFarlane. Went for the chest mark. McFarlane too good. Spur, the spear. Finds Johnson. They've got the runners on the open side. He just pokes it up. Dangerous.
Kick.
Hanbury. Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Kennedy.
Could go
Malcheski. Shaw. Goes with the short. Franklin, one. Oh, he's almost thrown off. He tried to get the second grab. Might still work. Franklin tucked into the pocket. Spur comes at him. Half holds him. Franklin holds him off. Knocks it back to Bird. The cavalry arrives for Fremantle. They try and hold it in. Not successful. Bird got the kick away to McGlynn. Knocked away. Malcheski. Stand start. Bends it around. Misses.
The rule number one in AFL right now, Lynchy, is do not even think about trying to fake for a free kick. They are not going to pay them. Buddy's got buffeted a couple of times, but he was half looking for the free kick.
Yep.
Had another go at it out in the pocket. They're just not going to pay them.
But I like the way they're actually attacking Buddy passes now. I mean, he hasn't been able to mark the first two have come at him, but their purpose, the way they're actually going inside 50 has changed since the first quarter, and no doubt very different to what we've seen in past weeks.
Oh, Hill turned Cunningham inside out. Rampy was wise to it. Derrick's not quite as dexterous as he would have liked to have been. Main tried to shovel it out. Neal jumped on. He throws it out. Crowd on this side of the ground saw it. The umpire blindsided. De Boer not the required 15, so Sandlands knocks it to the deck. Jack ducked his head, went through some traffic. Handballs backwards though. Teddy Richards. Shaw.
That was actually brilliant from Jack. He was about to release the 2-metre handball, read it that someone was going to ping his recipient, so then he held it and still got the ball back to Ted Richards.
Derricks. They've lifted in this second term, the Swans. In fact, from about the 20-minute mark of the opening term. High towards half forward. Good attack from Parker. Good second effort. Sutcliffe wrapped him up, took him out.
Let's have a look at Kieran Jack. Now, his immediate response is to give the first handball, but he sees he's about to get pinged. And that is the difference between an average midfielder and a top-quality one, being able to make harsh decisions under all sorts of pressure.
Derricks, he felt for Clark there. Hanbury dumped by Clark. Daniel Pearce, Nat Fyfe. Parker rolls it out. Kennedy with another clearance, a bounce pass.
You couldn't recognise this midfield work rate for the Sydney Swans to the one we saw last week. Lynchy, right now they're taking it up to the Dockers. They've tidied up their disposals a little bit. Yep. Still obviously very tight and could go either way, but they'd be thrilled with their work rate.
And it's unrecognisable offensively and defensively as well. Every time Fremantle get their hand on the ball, there's numbers all over them and this sort of tackling pressure.
Daniel Pearce got it from Mzungu, kicks it towards Pavlich on the wing. Main also flies. Ball hits the deck. Neal rolls it forward. A 2-on-2. Grundy gets there ahead of Taberner. Beautiful play. Handball not so good. Richards left it behind. Fife brought down by Grundy. And the Swans should get out of this with the ball up.
Very lucky there. The pressure on the young player saw him unload it, but they got out of jail there in the finish, the Swans.
It's a try, guys. It's a try.
Umpire comes in a few metres to toss it in the air.
Oh, that's near below the knees.
Neil. Daniel Pearce didn't keep it in.
Thank you.
Fremantle, they're trailing. Let's have a look at this, what I was talking about, the attack at the ball, and they're 34 disposals down for the game. Now Zach Clark just hit his direct opponent there in Smith below the knees. We see that one a bit paid.
Yeah, no problems if you keep your feet and run into their legs, but if you roll into their legs on the way to the deck, you're in trouble. Fife bangs it to a good spot. Ballantyne might leap here. He used his body. Laidler dumps it. Now trouble. Ballantyne tried to shuffle it out. Laidler again. Rampy. Lewis Roberts-Thompson. No one to go too long. Jetta tried the clever knock on. Daniel Pearce feeds it back. Bang. Spur caught. Got it up just in time. Clancy Pearce. This game's gone up another gear. Malcheski feeds a handball out wide. He had Brandon Jack on the run. Daniel Pearce caught by the jumper. An enormous amount of time. De Boer crunched. This is finals like. The two teams that met in last year's prelim at Subi going head to head here. McGlynn dragged down. He can't bust it free. Bird waiting for it. They will get their inside 50. Malcheski wide. Franklin's on the move. Not quite. McFarlane right with him again. And Franklin searches for the try.
That was a try.
Gone. Gee, he was jumped on. That was unlucky.
But I think you were right to start with, Dwayne. He was looking for the boundary line. That's what the umpire interpreted as well.
Sure, you're not allowed to just jump on a bloke's back, though.
No, there used to be an in the back.
Jumper, but yeah, that must have changed that rule.
They've changed a few over time. I'm not sure they've changed that one. Ballantyne pops the pass.
That's it. That was some of the best footy I've seen this year. 30 seconds of so much pressure. Both sides getting involved. It deserved a better finish.
And this has been a good matchup too. Pavlich and Richards. Richards searches for the line. Pavlich helps him across.
You're right. The intensity's fantastic, but is the try. Just missed the mark. Good contest from McFarlane. Was it in the back?
I'm not allowed to jump on a bloke's back.
I don't think he actually jumped on his back.
Clark stands up, bends it to full forward. Fife. And he's been jumped on and taken through for a behind.
For a majority of the season, we've seen this intensity from Fremantle, but we haven't seen it from the Sydney Swans. They've actually raised the bar even from quarter time. I think Ross Lyon will be a little frustrated and a little concerned that the way they're using the ball when they do actually get it, but they're well down on possessions for the game and only still going by foot at 57%.
See, Laidler hit Rampy on the run, and he hits Spur on the run. Zach Dawson.
Oh, he missed his hand.
Duffield. Johnson.
And they're hunting them too without the footy, Lynchy. They're 35 to 26 in tackles. So when they haven't got the footy, the Swans are on today.
Well, spot on. That's what we're talking about pre-game. That elite midfield that we've seen at the Sydney Swans for a decade. You know, back when you were playing as well, defensively they're so good. The defensive pressure is probably the #1 focus, and then the offense comes as everything else flows.
Sutcliffe. Splendid 40-metre pass to Johnson, and now he thought about going wide to Spur, ignored him. Straight down the middle, Pavlich.
And Teddy Richards won't be too unhappy if Pavlich is getting most of his kicks across that half-forward line. Must be a bad footy out there.
That doesn't help their percentage at all.
I think fatigue's starting to
no doubt.
get a few of them. They've been running non-stop. Duffield runs non-stop, kicks it long. Sandilands, the big man, goes up, got hands to it. Malcheski, front and centre. He read it, but then dropped it. Smith feeds it back. Trouble. Malcheski, Pyke, not the normal man you want kicking it outside 50. Pearce. Caught. McGlynn wraps him up. Bird. The intensity is fantastic. Kennedy feeds it back. Parker. Lewis Roberts-Thompson keeps his feet, but there's no one long for him. Hands it up. Knocked out by Duffield. McVeigh looks up.
Empty goal square.
So Bird can roll it all the way home if he wants to. He goes back. He knows you can't kick that far. Now he has McGlynn on the run. Hits him, and he misses it. And it hits the deck. Still a chance. Roberts-Thompson caught down by Johnson. Sandilands, Neal all the way back, and Fremantle can reload. No one getting a chance to take a breath out there right now. No wonder they're spent.
And no one's getting a chance to steady on their kicks. They're missing targets time and time again.
So Sydney Swans ball. Pressure on the Sutcliffe kick. And Jetta, well, he's within range. We see him bomb these at this end from about 65 pre-game every time we come here. So he can kick this. Doesn't want to. Gee, that was clever. McVeigh.
Gee, I'm not sure who the defensive coach is in the Fremantle box, but Ross Lyon will be having a little chat to him about reinforcing a few principles at half-time. That was very loose checking. It was like everyone was back in the zone, waiting for the shot at goal, and no awareness of free players in that forward 50 arc.
If you just joined us, the biggest lead of the afternoon to either side has been 7 points. So this kick is for the biggest lead of the afternoon, and that 7-point lead was a Fremantle lead in the opening term. And he squeezed that in by a coat of paint, and they lead by 2 goals.
You said there's been some skill errors with both teams. The Sydney side have gone in 5 times. They've scored on 4 occasions, kicking 2 goals too, whereas at the other end, Freo 5 times they've gone in for just the 1 behind. So it's not working for Fremantle at this stage. And contested possessions also going in front of the Swans.
Yeah, this quarter in particular, that number, Lynchy, shows that they were really have taken it up another notch. 24-16 in 1 quarter. It's a big discrepancy.
And handball receives 21-14 for the game for this quarter as well. So they actually run into support as well.
Parker bounces it to half forward, but he missed his target. Sutcliffe. Bouncing ball. Rampy.
Jeez, he's been good today. He has been an absolute star today, Rampy.
Played 23 games last year as well, so he's risen as a player almost from nowhere in the last 18 months. Franklin tries the shrug. Bang! Oh, Jack rode that bump to perfection. To Shaw, not 15, forced to play on. Back to Jack, who spent it before he'd earned it. Jumped on, but not in the back, so the umpire will ball it up.
Well, he was playing like a human pinball there, just bouncing off players willy-nilly, executing the handball once again under pressure.
Sandilands. Kennedy, the clearance specialist, almost gets it away. Probably can't count that one. 15 players around this ball. Neal tries to break free with it. Thrown out by Hanbury to Smith. Puts it back into the congestion. Neal to Sandilands. But open space. And it's all about the bounce. It bounces kindly for Bird. He's got a helper. Grundy, Fife too clever. Smothered the handball, and now Fremantle can reload. To
what a win by Fife.
All the way back instead. Johnson tries to shimmy on LRT. Couldn't sell him anything. High towards the outer side. Fife again.
Class act. Double foot jump straight up. Strong mark overhead.
Well, LRT has missed a lot of footy recently with injury. He's still turning like a major shipping container or thereabouts, something of that nature, but he's doing a good job on Michael Johnson right now.
He's always been a very important player for the structure of the Sydney Swans.
Long to the hot spot. Pav couldn't get there, and mark taken by Cunningham, who's been a goal scorer for the Swans this year on a couple of occasions. Didn't kick one last week, but 3 the week before against Adelaide. He finds McGlynn.
Pushing the boundaries.
Hanbury. Smith. Everybody can take a breath for a change. It's got Grundy long. Needs to be a good kick to hit him, and it clean misses him. Mundy.
Is that flat footy again?
Kick a ball by Pavlich's standards. He drives it long, and just on the line, getting back with the fist away. Was Rampy again.
He needed to.
He's been everywhere.
He was flying back. He has been very good. Had 13 disposals, but he needed to get back for that one. Really poor kick out of defensive 50.
Play on.
To himself.
It's a better kick.
Kennedy. Good composure there after dropping it. Hanbury on the run. Franklin. One-on-one with McFarlane again. McFarlane gives him a free this time. McGlynn thought about playing on.
Put his hand up, which was the right thing to do.
Franklin wants to bang it. Tough ball for LRT. Hard bounce to Reid. Dawson. Johnson. Daniel Pearce. Pavlich. Pearce made it impossible for him. Richards half hurl, played for it, won it.
Just didn't give his forward a chance at all, that kick off half back.
Keep your eye on Buddy Franklin, Lynchy. You played in his position for many years, but at the moment he's leading and then almost stopping, waiting for McFarlane to catch up rather than going through with a lead.
Fife, good pluck. Franklin stayed down there, which was a surprise.
Doesn't go up too often, Dwayne, in those big contests, but I think he's a little bit intimidated because McFarlane's got him for pace.
And McFarlane can take a good mark, and that would have taken McFarlane for that contest. Still alive here for the Swans at half forward. Smith dumped into the deck. Jack. Missed Laidler. Forced to go and get it. Franklin wants the left, you know that. Handballs it back. Grundy. So Cunningham can get and go. Nice release kick to give him space. Shaw. They've found their mojo, the Swans. 11-point margin. Smith. Coming off a horror show here against North Melbourne last week, the Sydney Swans. Haven't won a game here at the SCG yet this year.
Thank you.
Cunningham. Only won one game for the season, of course, and that was against the Crows in Adelaide. Jetta. Inside 50, Bird. Fingertips, Sutcliffe. Mzungu, Mundy. Again, the congestion, doesn't know where to go. Rolls it wide, ball in.
Jetta just overcooked that kick a little bit, but the work rate to actually get to the mark was outstanding. He'd run an enormous amount of distance, pumping out the 2 and 3 lead. Work rate again was a great sign from a Swans point of view that Jetta's getting on his bike.
Derek's almost with the palm down. Duffield. Handball smothered. Jetta couldn't quite make something out of nothing there. Daniel Pearce, but it's dangerous. Brandon Jack hands it up. Malcheski into the roadblock. Grundy. Cunningham. Richards. Now Laidler can get and go. Shaw likewise can run. He's got Franklin short and he decides to hold it up. Franklin should lead into the space. Does. Held up.
You've got to have Pyke come forward too, because he's the one that can take the big mark in a pack.
And he's the one that can draw the ball long. So Buddy's not your sort of top of the goal square sort of operator. He just tried to get every metre out of that one. I think he's going to back himself to tee this one up.
Wind around on the left here and bring the house down. This would bring the crowd to life. He knows how big this moment is. Yet to kick one at the SCG. We're 21 minutes into the second term. Half-time's looming. And this is his biggest moment in a Swans jumper yet. Opens up the angle. Strikes it well. It's not long enough. To the square. Thumped away. And that's that kick that Alistair Lynch was talking about. You either go 15 metres out from goal, because if you go to the goal line, it gets knocked through with ease and it's the other team's ball. Ooh. Spur. Again, not a lot to go to. He was bumped after the kick, the umpire said.
Just marginally late, and there's a real let-off for Freo that looked like that could have been turned over again.
Fife to Neal. Now he's got Main just off the bench. Main, he can stroll in and kick it from 50. Went for the pass option. He must be rusty. Must have sat down for a while. Jetta on the run. Swans on the reload. Jack does the step. Shrugs Dawson onto the left. Puts it long. McGlynn territory knocked away. He kept his feet. Can he keep it alive? No. Content to see it out.
Geez, he's a hard worker, McGlynn. Ben McGlynn, what a pickup he has been. Got him from the Hawks. Been a star. Missed out on their premiership. One of the really unfortunate elements of that victory, but his work rate, Lynchy, is top class.
Yeah, one of the real leaders in the midfield as far as his work rate's concerned.
Hanbury flicks it up. Shrugged from Cunningham works. Kennedy caught by the ear. That'll be a free.
In fact, if you don't work really hard in the midfield at Sydney, you just don't get in.
And what does Kennedy want to do? Franklin's at the top of the square. He puts it in his direction. Pyke's down there as well. Pyke got a hand on it. Bird off hands. Part of the seas. Lewis Roberts Thompson nails a big one.
Certainly a very handy player, LRT, and it was a bit of crumbing work there, but I don't mind him going long to the top of the goal square if it's Mike Pyke, because he makes a strong contest. We saw in recent years he was one of the more dominant forward 50 contested mark players in the comp. So you can go to him, and once the ball hits the ground at ground level, the crumbing forwards come into their own.
Swans have kicked the last 4 goals of this game, and they are hot right now. Parker, McVeigh wobbles one past LRT. Pyke from the goal square goes off the deck.
Not too much.
Still the biggest lead of the game.
Just under siege a little at the moment. 10 scoring shots to 6. And this quarter, inside 50s 11-8 in favour of the Swans.
Sandilands got hands on it, couldn't bring it down. Pavlich comes back to half, back to lend a hand. His man Richards got it. Throws it away. 1 minute 45 left to half time, and it's been the Sydney Swans quarter. Fremantle has not kicked a goal in this term. Derricks has done well against Sandilands so far. Pavlich locks it up with his legs. McGlynn extracts it. They're jumped on. These two teams met twice last year for a Fremantle victory and a Fremantle moral victory. Fremantle by 25 points in the prelim, and they came from 27 down to draw here in the corresponding game last year.
Kennedy better at stoppages in this term, the Swans. Wasn't a great kick.
Overcooks Pyke. McFarlane. So the Dockers are going to have to come from behind here at half-time again, as they did last year, to level the scores on the siren. Franklin having a sit down, and you think that's where it'll stay for the last 1 minute and 14.
Baz, I've noticed the Dockers seem to be holding a player back when the opposition is shooting for goal, and they're running him on to give that extra player running into space when they get a clearance from their kick-ins.
Yeah, it's not a bad tactic, because most players, they set up the zone and probably switch off a little bit. If you give that quick break and that guy comes off the bench, it's a pretty good tactic.
McVeigh to goal. Just thumped through. Lucky.
Spot on there, Jared. We're seeing more and more of that. Yeah. Players interchanging when there's a shot at goal, so if they're behind, I'm sure they're not running straight on the ground, and they're just running into space when required.
Turnover! Can you believe it? With 50 seconds left, straight to McGlynn. Ooh. Taking the game on from fullback with less than a minute to go, when the Swans have all the momentum.
The coach's box vision will be interesting, I would have thought. And as the discussion might be at half-time, that is a costly turnover.
10 seconds.
And McGlynn knows how important this is. He's already kicked one. Having another outstanding day at his office. He pulls it a little. He pulls it too much.
He just chipped that one.
He did.
Just absolutely chipped it.
It's the only thing he's done wrong today, though. And Johnson needs to be a little bit careful. They're crossing the line when he kicks out. He's like a fast bowler. He's just that little bit too close.
When there's
no gain.
No need.
Well, it really would have been a great way to finish the quarter if the Sydney Swans had the McGlynn kick gone through. Nevertheless, they'd be thrilled, given the amount of mistakes they made in the first quarter. It all started to unfold for them and come together to take that lead into half-time.
Fantastic quarter for the Sydney Swans. They came from 27 points down to draw the game here last year, Fremantle. They're going to have to come from 21 down today, at least, to draw or to steal the points in what is a critical battle for both teams. Both teams staying out on the ground. They know how important this is. The Sydney Swans, amazingly, if they lose today, to as low as 16th on the AFL ladder. That's how important it is for the Swans, who started their season 1-3. And for Fremantle, a win today could see them rise to second on the AFL ladder. So it's a massive game for them as well. Good crowd in here. And half-time, 37-16. The Sydney Swans in control. But it's a type 1, and it's been an absolute superb contest to watch. Barry Hall downstairs will get an interview shortly. We'll be back here with a full wrap of the opening half shortly. Sydney Swans 5-7-37. Fremantle 2-4-16.
He copped a bit of a hit to the ribs, then he went down to get some padding on it. So what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on him. We'll give you an update as the game goes on.
Sydney Swans Premiership captain Barry Hall downstairs, keeping an eye from that level. And of course we've got Sydney Swans Brownlow medalist Gerard Healy in the box with 3-time Premiership star Alistair Lynch. Kick inside 50. Crowd calling for a free. Kennedy comes up with the crumb. Shaw.
He's had his own footy this afternoon, or now this evening. He sure has been able to get plenty of it. He's miskicked a couple, but he's had a lot of them.
That was a miskick from the boot of Spur out on the full. Free kick, Brandon Jack. Brought back into the lineup this week, Brandon Jack. First game for 2014. Misread that, Parker. Forced to lay a tackle, angry man tackle on Clancy Pearce. McGlynn gave it up. McVeigh back to Parker. And now the one-on-one. Franklin and McFarlane. It works for McGlynn. Got it off shoes. Kicks along towards goal. Outstanding start, Sydney.
And most of the worrying signs for the Fremantle Dockers are that the Sydney Swans are up and going. They're right into this contest, and the polish is just starting to complement the work rate.
Well, the Dockers responded after a really poor showing against Hawthorn with a super performance last week. But right now they need a similar response, because they are getting really badly beaten at contested ball.
Malcheski rolls one forward. Duffield buffeted out of it. Kennedy. Good release handball to Shaw, and now the overlap cut off beautifully. Johnson. Fife beats Rampy, turned his back into Rampy. Now Johnson can go all the way home. He was the man last year to get them back into it. He might do likewise tonight.
Great work from Michael Johnson. It wasn't a great kick to Nate Fife, but he did the work to take a fantastic mark. But he followed it up, and the All-Australian defender from 2013 just finished with a nice shot at goal. Desperately needed.
Back in the middle, Sandilands and Derricks. Sandilands flicks it down, hoping for Mundy. Well read by Bird to Kennedy. Buffeted out of it, Rampy, but he gets the kick away to half forward. Bounced on its end. Jack. Hanbury. Open side, Rampy again. Drives it to Franklin. Got it.
That's better from Buddy Franklin. Get in front and keep going. Now he had to slightly hold his lead because the kick wasn't super. It was straight, but we would have liked it 10 metres further out front of him.
Absolutely, but it was still the 40-metre dart at the leading target, and they've changed the way they've approached the forward 50 entries, and Buddy on that occasion has been the beneficiary with a really good mark. Just this one is that nerve-wracking distance.
Goalless last week against North Melbourne here in his first game at the SCG. For his first goal of many, the crowd hope here. And they rise. The $10 million man. I don't think anybody ever trash talked Michael Holding.
Oh, was it Andy Roberts?
Well, either of them.
Joel Garner?
Yeah, you just kept your mouth shut.
Maybe Colin Croft.
Back in the middle, good contest this. Goal for goal to start this third term after some lean patches in the opening half. Fife, he needs to get motoring. Gives it back to Spur. Two Swans down in the middle. Taking a long time to get up.
Need that after a bag of one. There's a couple of Swans players down in the middle of the ground, very slow to get up. One being Jetta.
I think they might have clashed heads and both are bleeding. So they might have a double blood rule.
Tommy Derrick's going from the ground with the blood rule.
Just looking across the Dockers, their forward line not functioning at the present time. We'll see the head clash come forward here.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a serious clash. Derricks will be going from the ground. I think the Jetta will stay. But Chris Mayne's the player who's had a slowish start to the season. Missed last week, as we know. Back into the side today. And he just hasn't been able to find the footy right now. So given that Rampy's on him, he's got a lockdown on Rampy at the same time. But he's a player that is known for his tackling, Glenn. He's known for his accuracy with his goal kicking. But right now I think he needs to rebuild his form on the former.
Holding, Stephen Hill.
Holding free off the ball. Hill to collect it. For the record, Sydney's sub today, Jake Lloyd, a first gamer. So Fremantle have more experience with their sub, Nick Subin. Long drive inside 50 to Pav. Lace out from Hill. Magnificent.
Teddy Richards wasn't overly happy with his fellow defenders and getting in that space, but very difficult to do anything about that. Great pass off the wing. Fluent ball movement. Hill hit a really nice 45-metre low one.
They need their captain again here, as they so often do. To the booze. That won't bother him. Crosses the 50, strikes it well. It drifts. Only a behind.
And Tommy Derrick, boys, he's gone down to get his eyes stitched up. I shouldn't expect him too far away, but he's getting his eyes stitched.
He could be the man they sub out anyway to bring on the smaller Jake Lloyd. We'll keep an eye on that. Straight through Jetta's legs. It might work. Brandon Jack goes to ground. Clancy Pearce to Crowley, who hasn't had a lot of it either. Neal all the way back. Johnson, good half volley. Sutcliffe. They've got a runner inside. Fife didn't want to go inside. Now he does. Duffield. Mundy's still waiting for it. Fife ignores him again and turns it over. Kennedy, no one to go too long. Only had short options. McVeigh, Hanbury, he gets his moment. Over kick, Cooks the kick. Spur. Tried to get it to Sutcliffe. Lewis Roberts Thompson wrapped up, dragged down. Again, a hard, tough contest, and the umpire will need to sort it out with the ball up.
He's in two minds, Hanbury, with that kick. He didn't know whether to go with the low dart or just have a shot at goal. I think you attack that 50-metre arc, it's goals.
Goals at the G.
Lewis Roberts Thompson was ridden by Dawson, and the umpire said that he dragged Dawson to the ground on his back, not vice versa.
Guys coming out the back here, please. Take that meter.
Sandlands tried to head to the boundary. Mundy, Now Chesky stands start and blows it.
Thank you.
McFarlane chips it wide to Crowley. And he takes it to the line. That'll do. And reset for a ball in. No other options. And John Lombard on screen. He's been in the press a little this week. Some articles in the Sydney Morning Herald this week suggesting that Sydney lose today. There could even be talk about his coaching job tenure.
Oh, big call, that.
A bit harsh, yeah, absolutely. And some of the writers today said that's rubbish, but they might discuss Franklin if he doesn't fire. To half forward. Clark can't get near it. Laidler, caught. Grundy, little fumble. Jumped on. Ball up.
It'll be a fall from grace given he got an extension of 2 years about 2 weeks ago.
There was, I think it's the Sydney Morning Herald chief sports writer and Peter Fitzsimons were discussing it. Peter Fitzsimons in the paper today added to it, saying it's rubbish. Valentine towards full forward. But when you say it's rubbish that they should be thinking of sacking the coach, you're still actually talking about the coach and the tenure. Rampy, and there he is, John Lombard on screen. A Sydney Premiership coach, of course, in just his second season at the helm. Franklin, one-on-one. McFarlane, good strength. Almost threw him out of it. Johnson left it behind. Kennedy jumped on. Dawson lucky to get out of it. Got out of it with a possession to McFarlane. The spin. Kennedy misses to the near side. They have to hammer down right now, Sydney.
He's putting a pretty good game together, Joe Kennedy, at the present time. Wasn't overly great last week, but he's responding.
Yeah, 23 disposals, obviously kicked the 1 goal.
Clark wide, Pavlich on the run. Richards didn't take the ball, but took Pavlich, and that was a win in itself.
Interested in your thoughts on Buddy Franklin. At the moment, the ball's 150 metres away, but he keeps on sucking himself up here midway through the forward 50. Given athletic his great advantage, you'd reckon he'd be better off just holding his ground in the square.
Well, yeah, I think he looks like he's more comfortable getting up the ground and trying to turn McFarlane around. He's not comfortable in the one-on-one contest against McFarlane. I think he's almost conceded that at the moment, that he doesn't want the ball to put on top of his head, so he's going to charge up the field and try to turn him around, and that's probably the case in point you were talking about. He slows late on his lead to hopefully get inside, then get behind McFarlane and head back towards goal.
What he needs to do, Lynchy, is actually put a bit more work into the first 5 metres of his lead, try and get off McFarlane, because McFarlane's got really good closing speed.
Pavlich, slick play onto advantage from a free kick. Pav doesn't like his chances, now he does like them. Now he's told to move it on. He's had his 30.
A quick 30.
Gee, that's amazing. To the top of the square, Mzungu.
That also was amazing, that he was able to take an uncontested chest mark. I think everyone was a bit confused, including the umpire, as to whether Pav could go back and, after taking 15 or 20 seconds, then declare he was going to have a shot at goal.
Yeah. Now I think this kick long, and for Mzungu to take a mark there on his chest, I mean, that's up there with that catch he took in the Big Bash at the Wacker. Very nice catch. This one's a bit easier.
The Steel back some momentum halfway through this 3rd term. Drives it towards goal and breathes some life into Fremantle's attack.
Things starting to turn around as far as the disposals are concerned. Fremantle up by half a dozen early stages this 3rd term, and they're using the ball better by foot. 71% against Sydney, 50%.
From the ball up, Fife almost got it away, did to Mundy, could go all the way home, shrugs the tackle, has a bounce for 2 in 30 seconds. He's got it.
And Ross Lyon, not overly happy with some aspect of that, but he'd be very happy with the fact that he kicked the goal. Mundy, he had his shorts halfway down around his knees, but still strong enough to kick it through.
From 28 points down, all of a sudden 16 points down, and with momentum big time back in their favour. Parker, Hanbury, Swans try to steal back that momentum. Shaw heads wide to Jeddah. Clancy Pearce holds him up. Franklin wants the long bomb, goal square, 1-on-1. He leads to the pocket. McFarlane held him up. Franklin's ball, forward pocket, Sydney.
Well, he's pushing back with his arm, and McFarlane almost reflexively grabbed hold of the arm. He would have had that done to him many times over his near 300 games, Luke McFarlane. So bad mistake from him, gives Buddy Franklin an opportunity.
For the headlock to start with, possibly a free kick, but there's an obvious hold of the jumper, and on that occasion, Luke McFarlane paid the penalty. Probably an early free kick against Buddy Franklin, but the umpire rarely sees that first one.
On the good side for a left footer. He'll open this angle up with what he calls the natural arc. He doesn't, in fact. Head straight towards goal, and the system works. Franklin's got 2. It's funny how everything old becomes new again. The straight run-up might be back in vogue.
Unusual, but it was much straighter than he normally does. Just having a chat to the coach on the phone, just reinforced to go about it.
I think the coach is just ordering another 3 or 4 of those beforehand and getting them deep, and I think that's his spot on this ground.
There's Mundy with yet another clearance. The clearance leader from 2013. Hot again in 2014. Bird to Rampy. Malcheski, Kennedy about to be hunted down. Just ducked back. Sold to McKitten. Kick was terrible. Subin has been subbed on, so they've used their sub Fremantle. Subin out there getting a touch. We'll find out who's done for the afternoon shortly. Cunningham. Long kick, wing, Shaw. Splendid pass.
It was a great kick and well read by Shaw.
Back inboard, McGlynn trying his heart out.
Or Reese. Looks like Taberner's the sub. Has been subbed out.
Okay, so the big man's gone for a small. Didn't have a massive influence, Taberner. Just the 3 possessions. Short pass, Shaw to Jack.
Sandilands 50 metres off the ball here in the corridor, waiting for the long one.
So he pokes to the pocket away from Sandilands, and it works. Parker. And he does that quite a bit. Drops in the hole.
Great kick that was. The pulled kick again. Don't just blaze away to where Aaron Sandilands was. Had to go towards the boundary line. We'll see Sandilands in the corridor. And it is Parker there by himself in the pocket.
He's having a good season, Luke Parker. He got the 10 votes from the coaches for memory 2 weeks ago against Adelaide. He's featured a couple of times. He's been a sharpshooter.
He has back-to-back 26 possession games leading into this. And the Swans holding strong. Two in quick succession for Fremantle. And the response, 2 in quick succession for Sydney.
Subin into the middle, you can see on screen. Needs to be watched. He was a big influence last week when he was on the ground. And he adds that extra midfield grunt, and away goes Mundy again through the middle.
Absolutely. Just missed Fife with the handball. Fife dragged down and ball up. Ragdolled into the turf. Nat Fife. He's got a man hanging off him with every possession. Flick down, Derricks. Gets his own clearance. Now Chesky just knocked it on. Sutcliffe left Jetta, and he left Jetta in space, and he spears that to Franklin. Not play. For a second, everybody took a long, deep breath, and Franklin could line up again from just on the 50.
Well, again, it came from one of the half-backs for the Swans being released.
Yep.
It's as bad as I've seen Fremantle control their opposition half-backs. They normally have a very good link on them. And Buddy Franklin, well, he would have got one and possibly the free kick as well.
For a third. All of a sudden, Franklin's come to life. And this is for the biggest lead of the game. That's big time. Suddenly, Buddy's worth the money.
Three unanswered goals for the Swans. They just owned the football in the last 5 minutes of play.
Mazungu's pushed forward, and he's gone to make it a one-on-one in their forward line as well.
Had some bouncing issues in the AFL this year. Quite a few of the umpires have had their problems. And Jacob Mollison's had a few today. Third one he's had to recall. Pavlich can't drive his way through, starting in the middle for the ball up. Hand off to Kennedy. Franklin's on the move again. This will be for 4. Bumped out of it. Went for the chest mark, strangely enough. Sutcliffe left it behind. Hanbury scoops it up. Jetta straight through the middle of them from the pocket. Misses.
Geez, they're up and about, though, the Sydney Swans. They are running on top of the ground. There's so much fluency about their play. Ross Lyon clearly has had enough, had a gutful of the amount of rebound the Swans are generating off half-back. Looks like he's just manned each one of them up.
Has to. They've just been able to, as you said, they've been able to free too many players off half-back up and a big no ball. That's...
You mentioned that with... It wasn't Spur last time you mentioned it. It was Johnson, but this time Spur caught the same disease.
And there's a free kick to Ryan Crowley.
Okay,
so it's been reversed, gone against Kieran Jack. Brandon Jack was involved as well. Johnson
has got Ballantyne long, who hasn't seen it for a while. Gets his skates on, sizes up the big sticks, knows this is his moment. He shorts to Mazungu. It travelled 8 metres. Back to Ballantyne. Parts the seas again to Fife. Stand start. Teddy Richards is everywhere.
He can't get away from the ball, actually, Ted.
Good to see the run power of Ballantyne, though. He basically went on a journey, had no idea where he was going, but he kept backing himself, and he plays like that. Sometimes it opens up, sometimes it closes.
Could have been very costly for the Sydney Swans, that reverse free kick, or what was going to be a bounce at the top of the goal square. Free kick to Crowley against Kieran Jackett, who appeared. They got away with it in the end.
Barry Hall.
Yeah, we see Buddy Frank kicked 3 goals this quarter, but he's anchored himself back inside 50 a bit deeper, which is exactly what you need to do. I spoke about in the first quarter. You need to anchor yourself back on a short ground like the SCG. He's done that, and it's worked beautifully for him.
Absolutely. Goal-kicking superstar Barry Hall.
Well, after the serve that Baz gave a few of them on the way past this afternoon, Lynchy, you'd be surprised if there wasn't a response, particularly LRT. He has lifted.
Neil caught high.
The whole team's lifted from the very first bounce as far as work rate's concerned, and certainly their skill execution's been a lot better in recent times.
Havlich calling for it back to the square. It's where the Pav's running. He's got 3 to beat though, and the big fist of Smith thumps it over the line.
And Pav's just giving a few of his teammates a bit of a spray, just allowing the third up defender. He was looking for a one-on-one contest, just didn't get the chance to go one-on-one where he'd be very comfortable.
Corey Enright has been regarded as the best small defender in the game for the past decade for all Australians, but Nick Smith wouldn't be far behind him. He has been a fantastic, consistent player on dangerous small forwards, and again today he's getting the job done.
Hanbury a free for in the back to Malcheski. Parker having influence in this third. Gee, he was spun 360. Still got the handball away an enormous amount of time. Spur to Fife. Shrugs the tackle. Crowley. Little fumble. Subin just on. Hasn't found the pace of it yet. Clark tries to get it up. Gang tackled. Dragged to the ground. And the trademark Swans are back. 35 points to margin. Biggest margin of the game right now. Fremantle came from 27 down last year here to force a draw. Need to get their skates on shortly here. Rampy back to Cunningham. Bangs it to the wing, McGlynn.
But again, they had the extra man across half-back. It wasn't the nice, smooth, open run that we've seen throughout the day, but they had the extra one back, so the panicked handball had numbers and support.
And this time Barry Hall, Buddy Franklin got the reverse gear going, and he went back to the goal square. Earlier in the match, he was coming up the ground, as you said.
Pearce to Pearce.
There's a fracas on the wing.
There is to Duffield, and the emergency umpire is out there. That's between LRT and Sutcliffe. In the meantime, ball on the outer side to De Boer. Got Mzungu short. Needs to be a good kick. It is. Still a ton of time left in this. Fremantle 35 down. Swans have their biggest lead of the game.
Great kick.
Ballantyne.
Johnson.
And Johnson, the man who drifted down last year to keep them alive and then had the kick to win the game that Reid marked on the goal line to cause that draw. And he drifts down again and has the momentum on his boot. This is for his second for the quarter.
Well, LRT at that stage was off. Just come onto the ground as Johnson take off, but he was engaged in a little bit of a stink with a couple of the smaller Fremantle players.
Smaller, angrier types.
They were very angry with him, weren't they? But I think given he's got that premiership medallion, he'd win most battles.
Just inside the paint. Got under it, but it looks okay. Exceptional. He's got 2 for the quarter.
Big 5 minutes coming up here for the Dockers. They can just slam on 2, possibly 3 goals to give themselves all the momentum. And it's now. They need their big guns, their star players, the Pavlich, Fife, Mundy, etc., to get hold of this footy and get some score on the board.
Sandlands knocks it down, but straight to Pyke. He gets the clearance. The 233, Sutcliffe, Brandon Jack. Brandon Jack wrapped up. He didn't have any prior opportunity, but he did go to ground with it, and the umpire makes him pay.
Pearce and Hill are the other two, the genuine match winners, the guys that can create things when they get the ball in their possession. Things start to happen.
The outside runners, I mean, you need to win your share of contested possessions, no doubt about that. But this is where they haven't been able to get that run, find the spare player. Sydney pushing up, putting pressure on the on the Fremantle defenders, just not allowing him to run and bounce off halfback.
McFarlane to Mundy. Good hands. And here's Pearce of the Daniel variety.
Just got away from McGlynn, who tried to help out with Mundy, but they've approached this man on man. It's working at the moment.
Long to Sandlands. Got the reach. Off hands. Fife on the run. He hit it well. Just left it behind. The back heel might work. A little hand up. Open goal. Ballantyne's the man. Crunch. Knocked down beautifully by Bird. Swans on the rebound. McGlynn to Franklin. A one-on-one. Brandon Jack and Sutcliffe. Rolling ball. Sutcliffe gets there first. Brandon Jack's quick. He's slick. He's clever. He's all class. Back in and magnificent.
Just had to keep the ball going forward, but the pressure of the pace, as you spoke about, Gerard, from Brandon Jack was enough to make Sutcliffe panic. Here's the long ball out in front of Jack. But it was the
major twist, wasn't it? But it came back to that turnover. The kick that was going to Hayden Ballantyne, just a little bit high, made him sit under it. And a good spoil again by Rampy.
Fremantle at breaking strain again right now. 3 minutes from three-quarter time. Malcheski to Franklin. McFarlane got a fist in the way. Dawson back to McFarlane. Back to Dawson. Subin. Someone needs to show some poise here.
Oh, Sandlands is in the middle by himself.
De Boer. Sandlands well spotted. It's a 1-on-3. Fremantle had the 3. Sandlands to Mundy to Daniel Pearce. This looks better. Mains in the pocket, goes longer. Pavlich, top of the square. Richards, Pavlich, straight through them all. Neal gets a chance. A roller. He went along the deck. And Rampy's there again. Just needed to lift that up.
And again, desperation from the defenders. Rampy, very good work. Great one-on-one contest. Richards to get the ball to ground. Here it is. Rampy dives, just slaps it through.
That's snappable through the air from there.
Yep.
Laidler told to go. 2.5 minutes left to three-quarter time. McGlynn.
Generous 15 metres from the umpire.
Kieran Jack, the co-captain, holds it up. Says, let's take a breath, boys. Be happy to take this lead in. 34 points at three-quarter time. Pyke, Sandlands. Sandlands with the fist. Fife just on. Mundy tucked up against the line, and Crowley sees it out.
Once again, that interchange being at exactly the right time for Fremantle. Baz?
Well, Jared, you said Lewis Roberts-Thompson's Queen's like the Queen, turns like the Queen Mary, but geez, he turned around pretty quick with this little scuffle. This is out of character for Lewis Roberts-Thompson, so I don't know what happened, but LRT is all fired up down here, boys.
Yeah, and that's he nearly gave a 50-metre penalty away when his man Michael Johnson took the mark. Not sure what did upset him, Baz, but you're right. Those two blokes from the Dockers, they were pretty keen to make a point.
Well, if anyone would be able to work out what got him upset, Baz, I'm sure you would. Ball was half forward.
Hit.
Could be something minor too from past experiences. Duffield. Crowley, that was touched. So it'll be a ball in.
Well, everybody's getting inside everybody else's personal space and face right now, but at the moment, the Swans with their lead are going to have the last laugh, and you just sense that the Dockers are going to find something, Lynchy, because they've got a trademark they need to uphold, and that is fight it to the death.
And there's a lot of spice in this and plenty of time left. A full quarter and 1 minute 20 to come. Duffield, Mundy, Fife.
Great gang tackling.
Back to Mundy. A mark from this will be huge. To the square. Pavlich might have been held. Yeah. He was.
Against Teddy Richards. He had turned from the ball and appeared to have the arm around Pav as he faced his direct opponent. Head's not overly impressed, but no defender is.
Again, the two doing the damage was Mundy and Fife in tandem, getting the ball away from a very congested clearance, getting it forward for Pavlich to do the work.
Just needs to complete the deal. The captain. Well and truly within his repertoire, this. And that could be monstrous. with 45 seconds to three-quarter time.
One more would be really handy for the Fremantle Dockers. Plenty of time for both sides to get a goal, but there's the hand across the neck, as you said, Dwayne. It was there, and despite the
locals not happy,
anguish of the locals who weren't overly pleased, but it was there for sure.
Had the eyes off the ball. Pav would be happy with that one just before the end of three-quarter time, and if they could sneak another one, it would be very handy. But they've got back into this game. Forward 50 entries in favour, +4 to Fremantle Dockers. See Lewis Roberts-Thompson back there as a spare man. Contested possessions heavily in favour of the Dockers.
5 to Pavlich. He's up. Teddy got a fist on it. Down to Malcheski. Down to 30 seconds and counting. Fremantle have the numbers. Hill's about to chase it down and send them back to attacking 50. Dying stages, third term. Clancy Pearce, crunched by Bird, free kick. Play on to advantage. Daniel Pearce long. Pavlich. How good is he?
Well, they're the danger players. Mundy's been a star in this term with 13 and 5-10, but they need some assistance. Neil's been handy, but if they're to win this, the Dockers, they need Hill and they need Pearce, the two left foot match winners, to work in tandem as well, get plenty of the footy and get it forward.
There's the siren. That's a genuine contested mark. The kick wasn't great, but great strength in front position.
Well, if his last one was monstrous, this could give them so much momentum and enthusiasm at three-quarter time. The comeback's not beyond them. The Pav delivers. Last year, here, Fremantle came from 27 points down in the last quarter to steal a draw. The margin right now is 22. All the momentum Fremantle's way. The last 2 goals of the third term. The Swans 11-10-76. Fremantle 8-6-54. I wouldn't be going far. And this is huge for the Sydney Swans. They could be 16th on the AFL ladder if they lose this one at the end of this round, and their season could be just about done. Franklin beaten for it by Duffield, feeds it back to Johnson. Heads wide, Crowley on the run with Jack. It's been a good battle all afternoon. Hits the deck, ball in.
We heard Ross Lyon talk about the 15-9 inside forward 50 entries. We spoke at half-time about the discrepancies of disposals, inside 50s. They've all gone in favour of Fremantle. They were +20 in disposals, +6 inside 50s. Handball receives +7 and contested possessions +14. So most of the game has gone their way, but just not the effective kicks inside 50.
Fife long. Pavlich can't get a run at it. Almost marked it anyway. Malcheski handball smothered by Ballantyne, who hassles his way towards it. Grundy, Malcheski, Smith, and he heads wide. The first gamer is on. Jake Lloyd. What a moment for him. First touch in AFL footy. And he just measured the pass nicely enough for Malcheski.
It's just an effective kick. Brandon Jack is the player that's been subbed out.
So both teams have jumped with their subs. Subban on for Taberner. And Lloyd on for Brandon Jack. Ball doesn't get to Franklin. Johnson takes it to the line.
Just have a look at this for absolute goal from a star midfielder. He's going to go the instantaneous handball, sees he's covered, changes his mind. So many times now you see players just handball reflexly and get the ball turned over. That's why Kennedy's a star.
Sandilands free against Derricks.
There's some class in that midfield with Fife as well, and certainly Mundy.
Yeah, and here's Mundy on cue to Ballantyne, and Smith just hammers it over the boundary and they can reset.
And a big job for Harry Cunningham, who at the moment has got the job on Stephen Hill. Hill is one of those players, if the Dockers are to win this, he has to star, has to have a major impact.
Yeah, Hill, Daniel Pearce. I'm sure Johnson needs to make an impact off half-back as well.
Hill, 60-metre bomb. Richards gets back, Pavlich gets back, Clark holds his ground. Rampy trying to cut him down, hands it off just in time. Gee, Neil didn't want to have the shot.
Still doesn't.
Did a full 360 and misses. Not confident at all.
Too many options there, unfortunately, for Lockie Neal. But good to see Zach Clark get into the game. He's been backup ruckman, but hasn't really touched it much. It was a good contested ball. He won, laid it off for an opportunity. Should have been a goal. And the other bloke in the forward line who really couldn't draw one at the present time is Chris Mayne, who, you know, he was just about All-Australian last year, and he needs to find some footy or find a role.
Malcheski to Jetta. 21 points the margin. It was 35 if you just joined us. Fremantle coming hard. LRT gang tackled. Going nowhere.
Not the first time two Dockers have been all over him in that position of the ground. Johnny Longmire just barking instructions to his, looks like his coaching staff in the coach's box at the moment.
Sandlin smashed it. Mzungu taken to the line.
I like to see the big crunch punch from Sandlands. He's just got such an advantage. He can tee off. Unfortunately, on that occasion, he didn't quite middle the ball.
One-on-ones across the ground. No loose man in defence for either team.
Kennedy got his arms free to Parker. Slick hands. Kennedy again. McVeigh keeps it alive. Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Good bump by Johnson. Duffield back to Johnson. Good. And there's the open handball. Mzungu hunted down. Not pushed in the back. Fife turns it over. Roberts-Thompson. Rampy dumped. Mundy again extracts it. Got his arms up.
Oh.
Ballantyne, a kick of some sort. Travelled 3 metres, but it might work. Ball comes clear. Parker. Well, he tried the push off on Fife. That's gone.
Yeah, good call from the umpire. No doubt he took on the tackler, and great tackle from Fife.
Fife has Pearce, who's got a long left leg on him.
Oh, trouble.
Pavlich on the move. It's in front. Richards up. Way early. Got to be a free.
Against Pav.
Gee.
Oh, no way.
He pulled back into him, and
he's allowed to protect the drop zone. That's a... I may differ, Jared. That's a terrible decision.
Yeah, he propped to take the mark. You're allowed to do that, surely. It's your decision when you stop.
He doesn't have to get out of the road for him.
We'll argue about that a little later. Play continues. Grundy rolls it to the outer side. Kennedy opens it up. Sure, they could make them pay here. Lloyd, long inside 50 in the first gamer. Didn't quite know what to do there. Big moment for him, though. Johnson back to Mzungu. Straight down the middle. Ballantyne overcooked.
Well, that's twice they've tried to kick it on top of Ballantyne's head.
He's little.
He's not a big man. It's not his go overhead,
That's
Mark.
not his go.
I mean, Pavlich is the man. Hit it over his head. Let Ballantyne do the legwork.
Grundy pleading for an option. One-on-ones everywhere he looks. Kennedy, that's a good grab.
He's had a big game. They pushed Crowley onto him by the looks.
Kieran Jack, little chip pass. Franklin, he might be within range.
Well and truly, he wants to go.
He's always within range on this ground, guy.
Is that 50 still 48 or is it 50 now?
I'm not sure about that. I think it is the 50, but Buddy Franklin, anywhere on the positive side of the centre line is within range, because he can go round blokes willy-nilly, take them on with the leg, and also with the big boot.
We're told this ground is actually 2 metres longer this year with the redevelopment of the grandstand. So they have lengthened it slightly. Franklin, couple of skip steps. Got plenty of boot on it. Goal umpire not moving. Missed. Just to the near side.
It has extended over the years, because right of screen with that grandstand was extended first. Here's the Pav free kick against. I feel that he had every right to stop because the ball was no longer in front of him, so he wanted to change direction. Oh, so he can change direction.
Back pocket. Fans are into it. Sydney looking for their first SCG win of the season. They've come into this 1 win, 3 losses. Season almost on the line, and Fife floats in. Marks in front of Hanbury.
Well, it's a big battle now, Hanbury and Fife. Got to learn a few more tricks against Hanbury than just allowing him to get to the front spot, Daniel. Hanbury.
Great hands by Pavlich. And Fife does have a fair bag of tricks. So's Richards, slaps it back. Here's the Hanbury-Fife battle again. Kept alive. And still alive. Hanbury scoops it up. Brilliant. McVeigh. Short. First gamer, Lloyd. Not sure how long his leg is. He chips it. Oh, superb. Franklin from 45.
His teammates come from everywhere to pat young Lloyd on the back for that really good pass. Just waited for Buddy to push off his direct opponent, which, as Barry Hall said earlier, he needs to do. Ran back towards the goal square, pushed his Hanbury's effort, stays in the contest, stays on his feet, quick hands over the top to McVeigh.
15 seconds.
That itself was a good kick. This one to Buddy was even better.
This one for number 4 for Franklin. You'll hear the roar from 48. There's a new king in town. It's Lance Franklin. Four goals a couple of weeks ago for Sydney against Adelaide in their only victory for 2014. He's got 4 today, and they can almost see the finish line. 13.5 minutes left. 28 points to margin. 5 breaks free. Just knocked on the kick. Drags down Balcheski, holds it in.
Great work right from Nat Fyfe. He almost got the launch away, and then it was a mucked up kick, but he charged in and executed the tackle.
And the flick down. De Boer rolls it inside 50. Kieran Jack was waiting for it. Lewis Roberts Thompson on the run. Johnson with him. Both get there same time. Sutcliffe tried to flick it out. He was jumped on. And now he's in trouble. Plucked from his grasp.
Great contest.
And well umpired in the end, you'd think, as Jake Lloyd gets up in the number 44. Been on the rookie list a couple of years. There he is, J-Lo, in the 44. And playing well in his first game as the sub.
Is that his nickname, or you just give it to him, Pyke?
I think it's his nickname.
Okay.
Ball on the wing.
Clearance has been dominated by the Fremantle Dockers, but as we spoke about pre-game, it hasn't been a strength of the Sydney Swans to scores from stoppages, but they're certainly dominating that aspect of the game today, as with turnovers. 7 goals, 6 to 5-2 in favour of Sydney from turnovers.
Good tackles by Lloyd. Dragged him down. Slick hands, Jetta sizes up the big sticks, burns them all off and nails it.
Just working well in congestion and on the outside now. The Sydney Swans there, after being challenged in that third quarter, the numbers are starting to swing back towards the Swans. Uncontested possessions, 24-12, just to reinforce the dominance on the outside in this quarter.
Sydney Swans 12.5 minutes from their second win of the season, from bringing their season back to life with a first win at the SCG for 2014. John Longmire knows how important this is. They lose today, they'll be 16th at the end of this round if a couple of other results go against them. This is massive.
Great smother by Daniel Hanbury there. He's not playing at his absolute best, but he's taken a major step forward today, Lynchy, with 25 possessions and plenty of inside grunt work.
That's right. I think he's averaged 18 disposals per game for this season, down from his 26 last year, so right on track to his 2013 form.
Neil to Mzungu. Hill. Well played, kept it in front. Pavlich has to be the man now. They know it. He puts it in the Pav's direction. He's about to fly. Got a hand on it, a big hand. Smith with the crumb. Ballantyne hunts it down. Good attack from both players. Malcheski, McVeigh, Laidler, McGlynn.
Just weathering the storm.
Yeah, it was great defence from the Swans. 3 consecutive handballs backwards. In some ways they were blind, just knowing that the teammate was there, and then Laidler hit up a target.
Laidler heads wide. Jack tracks it down. Got a shepherd from Parker. Goes inboard. Umpire got in the way. Hanbury got it regardless. Back to Richards. Time's in their favour now, and they know it. Bounces it out, and they can reset for a ball in.
And it's been a big tackle differential. You see 84 to 54, and it's been frantic from the Sydney Swans, and that's been the difference today. Just the tackle pressure from the Swans.
Yeah, spot on. That is reflected in the numbers, but that's not the total story. It's the pressure and perceived pressure that builds because of those tackle numbers.
Little push out, Clark on Pyke. So Pavlich not in the ruck at the moment. He's playing forward, and it's cost them. Pyke gets under it. Tough one to mark. Fife.
Yeah, holding. Bird had him by the arm.
By the wing.
Yes, great aggressive kick.
They need to take it on now, and they know it. Sutcliffe to Bazungu. Pavlich leading back inside 50. He leads back to the ball. Initially faked to go goal square. Well read.
Good play, Mazungu, to be able to read what Pavlich is trying to do and deliver with a superb kick. Pav needs to kick this one now. He's declared his hand.
Well, Franklin has 4 at the other end. Over to the Pav. He's one of the all-time greats of the competition. In a couple of weeks' time, he could notch up his 300th game and his 600th goal in the same game in a couple of weeks against the Cats. He's been one of the greatest we've ever seen. And on cue, can't quite nail it. On the line, just touched back into play.
Well, they blew that the Dockers. They had Big Sandy take out one player, pushed him under the ball. And he just needed someone backing him up because that ball was going straight through. But there was, I think it was Jeremy Ladle who was just alone on the line.
Jack. Oh, through his legs.
Just clipped the leg on the way through.
89 to 55. Huge leapers go up. Umpires found a push free. Fremantle ball. It's 33 points the margin right now. The biggest margin of the game was 35. De Boer.
He's missed them. The players inside forward 53.
Free kick off the ball.
50 against McGlynn.
Okay, so this will bring De Boer. He was about 12 metres outside the 50, so he won't be directly in front. He'll still be just outside the square and on an angle. Had the free kick and 50 taken him inside the square, he would have been directly out in front. It's still a goal he should kick. 9.5 minutes left, and they're still alive.
No doubt it's a unique ground to play on, Jared. Those wide wings, extremely different to Patterson Stadium in Perth, which is the polar opposite. Long ground, very narrow wings. And when you're looking for space as a forward, you can easily get stuck out on that far wing, which is pretty much 110 metres from goal.
Pavlich, long knock to Hill. Straight out of the playbook, that one, towards the pocket, Laidler. And that's almost on the fall, just clipped Crowley's foot and out of play.
There was a nice little pop tap to Stephen Hill from Sandy. Big Sandlands using the space pretty well over the last few weeks. Let's have another look. There it is, out in the space. Didn't quite get hold of it.
Well, great tap, that one.
Ballantyne hammers it inside 50. Crowley. They still sense they're in it, Fremantle. They're still fighting hard. Clancy Pearce, flick back. Ballantyne, he's got the kick away. It's a roller, a tumbler. They've got a couple in a row. Barry Hall, what's the momentum feel like right now down there?
Oh, look, it's tight and tough. We know that, boys. But I think Fremantle and the coach Ross Lyons has made a really good move. Michael Johnson's gone forward. I'd really try and isolate him and Matthew Pavlich, who's red hot at the moment. I'll try and isolate them. They've got to play on. They've got to get it inside 50. Instead of trying to save this game, they've got to try and win it. Don't worry about leaking scores. Let's try and score ourselves.
Chris Main's a defender. He's got Jetta back there, so unusual position for Main.
So Fife playing out of the goal square now for Fremantle. Ballantyne clips it. Hill pokes it up. Fife at the back. Pavlich got to the back. And they've got 3 in 3 minutes.
Great goal, important goal. Brings the margin back to 15 points, and they're clearing the congestion at the moment, Freo, and that's where they're hurting the Sydney Swans, on the outside.
3 goals in 8 minutes. That is very doable. Back in the middle. Sandlin's dominating the ruck, and he thumps it. That's as good as a kick. Well read by Smith. Got there first. No one to go to. Pyke tries to trap it in there. Stolen by Neal. Couldn't quite break free. Kennedy holds him up and gets it off. McGlynn. Hanbury, they find the space. Jack, a little floater. Dawson, little nudge. Umpires put the whistle away. Main, Crowley, Sandilands. Back inside to Main. Got his arms free. Turned it over. Parker inboard. Stolen back by Daniel Pearce. Just bangs it long. He knows he's got the numbers down there. Spur left it behind. It's tough for everyone in the kitchen right now. The heat's right on. Fife scoops a handball out. Johnson dragged down, didn't have it. Umpires have put the whistle away. They found it.
Which way is this going?
Sydney free.
Well, Johnson very stiff there. Docker's very stiff. They've plucked one from the umpire that wasn't officiating.
Parker. Good collect.
Jeez, that was frenetic.
3 kicks in it. Cunningham on the wing. 7 minutes left and counting. They played a draw here last year, these two. Sandilands in defence. Arms on it. Couldn't quite. Main dumped. Good tackle, Hanbury. He rolled him in the tackle. And the umpire will have to sort this out, surely.
Hit-outs in favour of Freo 14-2, which is not overly surprising, but clearance is 10-5. Here's the free kick. It's gone in favour of Kennedy. Just a high tackle from Pearce, just the arm across the shoulder.
Neil almost threaded his way through. McGlynn got the throw. Is that on the full? It is. Free kick, Fremantle. Now, will they go open side here quickly? Duffield's running for McFarlane.
We've got the overlap.
Oh, gee, the umpire's told him to go back behind the mark.
Well, that's cost them a valuable overlap run off deep defence.
Forced him to go to the congested side. Clark up. Couldn't quite. Jack pops one inside 50 in hope. Kennedy tries to spin away. Got his arms clear. Flicked it back. McVeigh, captain today, to the pocket. Jetta. He's quick, but not quite that quick.
Sandland's just screaming out that he wants somebody else to take this.
Zach Clark, he said, get up there. I'm not going to get anywhere near that. He's worn out.
They just can't kill Fremantle off. Fremantle hanging in there. McGlynn gave it up. Jetta from the pocket. It's a bomb. Goal square. It won't score. It's knocked through.
Well, behind's a bonus really for the Dockers. They get possession. Will they go down the middle? Because they haven't got time to just muck around with possession footy. They've got to get some direction.
3 goals in 6 minutes now, the equation. And there you go, straight down the middle. Clark, Sandland's the knock-on. And it works. Pavlich read it beautifully. He needs a handball option. Flicks it up to Bohr. Mzungu. No one's in the goal square. Tried to roll it forward. Jack. Smith. And now Hanbury can run. Time in their favour. Long to Franklin. McFarlane. Franklin. It's been a superb battle. Down to Clancy Pearce. Crowd thought Franklin deserved a free. Pearce tucked against the boundary. Swans have the numbers. Jack.
Got to keep running the Dockers. They're just starting to flag a little bit here, Lynchy.
They are, and just missing some open players as well.
Pyke goes up. Not quite. Kennedy crumbs it.
Jetta's getting out the back here.
Franklin just beyond his range.
Well, a huge opportunity missed by the Dockers. Sandlands was brilliant, albeit predictable. He knocked the ball long. Pavlich gets it, and then they butchered 2 opportunities to go forward. Getting it forward into the goal square and across the line would have been far better than a turnover midfield.
Well, taking 30 seconds off the clock here, almost as good as a goal.
He's been just such a good player today, Josh Kennedy. He's had 37 possessions. He's kicked a goal. He's set up half a dozen others, and he might just finish it.
Played like a centre-half forward there, just led across beautifully.
Tough kick, but he is a star. From the 50, hits it well. Can't kill him off. There's still 3 kicks from the lead. 17 points. The behind, in essence, doesn't matter.
Well, this time Sandlands has come to the other side of the ground. They're not going to telegraph the move down the middle. They've done it anyway.
Only just.
Main to Dawson. Back to Main to the open side. Neil to set it all up. Short to Pearce. Made the ground. They don't know how long left. They look at the scoreboard. There's 25 gone. Long bomb. Pavlich down there. Johnson down there. Lewis Roberts Thompson. Not quite the second grab. Mzungu tries to break free. Pavlich tries to lay the tackle. Hill out of nowhere. Out on the full.
1 point. Just snuck through for a minor.
Squeezed in.
Just got to get a zone in place. And Sydney need to soak up the atmosphere, the pressure, hit targets, control the tempo of the game.
They've met every challenge so far this afternoon, the Swans. Pyke comes hard. 3 kicks, 3 minutes 44. John Longmire, edge of his seat. The whole box on edge. Their season's on edge. They're 1 and 3 coming into this. They could be 16th at the end of the round if they go down. Neil flicks it up. The Sydney Swan chant rings around the SCG. 1 more in their home. They know it. The crowd know it. Bird dragged down. Jumped on. Neil flicks it up. And Duffield thought about taking it out. Caught by Rampy. That could be ball. You bet it is.
Well, there's about 3 throws in the middle of it. They were both handoffs, and I think the players are looking for the boundary line. They're a bit confused. I think the Dockers expecting the whistle to be blown.
Throw in, they're going to pay here.
It exactly was a throw-in because it looked like it. The players were playing like it was. They were waiting for the call.
Well, a few seconds went off the clock there as they tried to decide what was going on. They can't put them on. They're gone. Sandlands, big smash forward. Clark read it well, but he left it behind. Shaw the sidestep, hammers it wide. More seconds tick down. Duffield will get back. Bird will ride into the line. 2 minutes 54 left.
It's an area of the game that Zach Clark's got to get better at. It was a low ball coming in. They're talking premierships. They're talking grand final appearances. The Dockers, they've got a standard that they've got to meet, and they've got to get better if they're to go one better. He's one player that's got some issues, got great strengths in the air. Good tap ruckman, but ground ball he needs to get better at.
Back into play. Sandland's the key, and he's wrapped up. Still a chance, the Dockers.
He's had a huge last quarter, Sandlands.
Worked hard.
He's had a good season.
Yep. He'd have a lot of Brownlow votes, Dwayne. I reckon in the first 2 weeks he would have been racking up a couple. They all had a bad 3rd week, and they all had a good 4th week.
And it opens up, strangely enough. Sydney left the corridor free. And McFarlane, he gave him 10 metres on the mark attempt.
The players loose everywhere, actually, Freo. Sydney have dropped right back deep.
Duffield squeezes wide to Johnson. Well, this is bizarre. Exactly the same spot that he kicked a goal last year to give them a chance at a win.
Nightmares. Actually, Sydney just dropped far too far back defensively and just allowed too many short, uncontested passes up the field.
He kicks this. The margin will be 10 points with 2 minutes left. The game almost hinges on this. It's across the face. Pavs up, slapped away. The crumb, Dawson, unlikely hero. Clark the fumble. Hanbury, but Johnson's waiting for it. He's up. And knocked away from him by Jack. Crowley to the line. Taken out, ball in. We're down to 1 minute 51, and the crowd are into it. Everybody knows how important this is. The Swans' season momentum hinges on it. They haven't won at the SCG yet this year, and they won't be back here for 5 weeks. Sandlands knocks it down. Cunningham tries to hack it clear. Daniel Pearce. Hill. Sandlands. Not 15. Neil turns it over. Jack hammers it wide. Franklin, if he gathers this, he's got no one to go to. Looks up. There's not a soul home. He's got the first game up. Jake Lloyd, open goal if he gets there. Takes it out. Not a bad move. Well worked, J-Lo. Ball in. 1:21 left. And the Swans are home.
Good pace from Lloyd as well. Buddy, good kick. Put it out in front of his rookie teammate. And now the ball's 160 metres from the Fremantle goals.
That was a lot better than a behind. Ball knocked down. Hanbury. Lloyd under it. Knocked down to ground. Fremantle still trying their hearts out. Subin the chip kick. Pavlich turns around. Back to Subin.
Got to go possession. No one forward of the ball, but they've still got to somehow take it forward with hands. Great tackle.
Pearce dragged down, and that will do. Lloyd, Rampy. Swans fans know this is a huge win for the Sydney Swans. Jetta
Oh, kick.
Superb pass to McGlynn, who can put a big exclamation mark on what's going to be their best win of the season.
See, that was a good kick from Jeddah. Good turnover. Again, the pressure on the Fremantle ball carrier was really good, but in defence, I think it was Pearce running through the middle. He had no one to kick to whatsoever. Didn't get great support around him, but
it's a couple of times it's happened in his turn, though, and they've butchered it.
Yeah.
It's something they need to address going into the depth of the season.
Just clips the inside of the post, but it won't matter. Good crowd in here at the SCG today. Swans have been under some pressure. Their coach has been under pressure. Been under pressure. But right now, they are back in the reckoning for 2014. The Swans, the fans fell in love with, are back at the SCG. Met every challenge. Under almost unbelievable pressure at times, and they were strong enough to get home in the end by 17 points.
Great effort from the Sydney Swans, and we saw the effort was certainly there in the first term. Didn't have all the class that we've recognised over the last few years, but the effort was certainly there, and the class came with time. We spoke about score sources pre-game, how they dropped away from their scores from stoppages. They've been able to turn that around. Last year they were plus 15 and ranked second in the competition. Tonight they were plus 12, so 6-6 from stoppages, so that was a really valuable turnaround. But it all came with the effort, tackling pressure. Their contested players in and around the ball got on top, and importantly, the uncontested work, the players on the outside, and that was Mel Chesky, Reece Shaw off half-back as well. Jeddah, as we saw, got on the outside as well. So some really good signs from a Sydney point of view. The effort was there for the Fremantle Dockers, but not at the level they'd be very happy with, and they just turned the ball over far too much.
Yeah, they crowded some opportunities to get themselves back into the game, but just couldn't get the flow going enough. Had some issues with the uncontested ball going into the forward line where they had some spare players, nobody deep. But they just unfortunately met an immovable force. Barry Hall is with one of the stars of the day.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Well, in the course of the season, this is a pretty important win for the club.
Absolutely massive game for the footy club, and they're a quality outfit, Freo, and the boys credit. We had to fight hard, and we came out with a win today, which was an unbelievable experience, and the crowd here tonight was unbelievable, and it's just great to be a part of the footy club at the moment.
And yourself, you're starting to look a bit more comfortable with the footy club. You started to kick a few goals in the end and starting to learn how to play at the SCG.
Yeah, I'm not judging my game on goals. I think a lot of people do, but I'm just judging my game. I'm playing my role for the football club, and if goals come, they come. But I'm just here to play and win games of football. And today we were lucky enough to get over the line, and we'll just take one game at a time and see what happens.
And yourself, you're probably the most scrutinised player in the game at the moment. Did you expect to have so much scrutiny in Sydney?
Not at all, mate. It is what it is. Just get on with it and play football.
1-0 tonight.
That's one man who had plenty of scrutiny to another man who's now got the scrutiny, Barry Hall and Lance Franklin.
That's right. I don't think anybody minds scrutiny when you play a match-winning performance like that from Buddy Franklin. But just on his performance tonight, Lynch, I still think he looks like, from an energy perspective, he's much better off playing a deep forward. I don't think he's got the capacity at the moment to be charging up and down the middle of the ground. They've got to leave that to blokes like Josh Kennedy, and he was, if no one else, best on ground.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Well, a fantastic performance, especially the midfield. They're probably under a bit of heat during the week, but they certainly responded today.
Yeah, I think...
Still keep getting possessed.
Back had a good game. It's been a pretty solid week. Obviously, we didn't perform the way we liked last week, and we were under pressure. And that's rightfully so. We deserved to be in the position we were in, and we really stuck to our guns this week, and it was good that we were able to put a full-quarter performance together.
And it's been publicised. You had some pretty long meetings during the week. What were they all about?
It's just about trying to strip it back and, working towards what we want to stand for as a footy club, and getting back to what made us so good over the last 2 years, 3 years.
Fantastic win by the Sydney Swans. Don't go far. We'll be back to wrap up straight after the break. The Swans 13-14-92. Fremantle 11-9. 75.